third part, quite I'm going to get into, for short, I'm going to, what I've able to do because of the choices that we have. Yeah. Sometimes we can have a lot of choices and they can be very good ones. And sometimes when we go the wrong path, that our choices will limit us. Well, in my situation, I used to work in labor jobs, but then that wasn't really the path I should be taking. So I left labor jobs and crafts helper and went back to school. Went back to the university after I completed 2.5 years at Utah Valley University. It used to be called Utah Valley State College. Although by 2004, I got on a Greyhound bus with only $30 in my pocket. Went all the way to Lawrence, Kansas, not that far from Kansas City, and spent 4 years in an all Native American university. It's in the same town where University of Kansas is located. You've all heard about the famous Division I Jayhawk basketball. They won a number of national championships through the years. So we used to have students, college students, and work part-time in the area, in town, in the campus too, at University of Kansas. So when I started classes, taking my regular math, writing class, speech, philosophy, American Indian history, I used to work weekends, every other weekend at football and basketball games at University of Kansas as an usher. Eventually, later on, after I got myself in full-time, as a university student at high school, I stopped working part-time, and because of scholarships, that's what I paid my tuition. Back then, 2004, fall of those 2005, those years, the tuition used to be $125, and that covered everything: your tuition, your 3 meals, your room and board, your library books, your library usage, and then a little bit of student activity fee, there's technology fee. Every semester for a long time, it was that way. By the time I started my 3rd year at high school education to enroll in elementary education classes, it went up to $250 per semester. But then by the time I started taking these student teaching with 5th graders at a local elementary school, I had to pay on top of that another $175 on that, along with student teaching fee. Well, after I completed there with elementary ed, during that time, opportunity to attend these trips, and then on the top there, we went to Washington, D.C., U.S. Capitol, with a school of education from high school, Indian Nations University. This is back in February of 2008. We spent 4 days total, actually 2 days being in Washington, D.C., and then 3 nights in the hotel there. On the bottom there, this is at Alexandria, Virginia, just across the river from D.C. This is where we had to do a pre-service teacher training during that time with that other teacher at So after I finished with a bachelor's degree, I came back to Nauvoo Technical College. I thought it was a college, and did 6 months of GED math and teaching, a little bit of social study and writing with a GED student. Although I used to drive all the way to Pueblo, Montano, and then to Torreon, Star Lake, and the evening class over there every Tuesdays and Thursdays for half a year. Although other half, I spent another 4 months back in the middle of Kansas at a place called Kickapoo Nation School, and also at Potawatomi, Native American community. I used to go on the school bus from Lawrence, Kansas, all the way to north of Topeka, Kansas during the day. Then I'd get back on the school bus all the way back to the people I stayed with at Lawrence, Kansas. They saw that I applied for University of Oregon 2010 back in June, and I started taking class full time. If you don't know what graduate school is, it's like completing a basic training in military, in Marine Corps or Army. You go advance on to specialized skill. And if you take a armored vehicle division class, if you take infantry, or if you're a helicopter mechanic, it's the same way. After I completed 4 years at high school, I went on another 1 year, 3 months at University of Oregon, and then I enrolled in methods courses down there in education. I did that for secondary mathematics and also with science too, but I did a lot of middle school emphasis and so on. They will put you in the classroom too towards the end of your classes, your program. When it's back on during those times, we had a lot of students that participate in sports on campus. They used to run cross country and track, like these students here on top. This is on bottom of Portland, Oregon. We did American Indian Science and Engineering workshops with high school students, and also with all the way on to professionals that are involved with engineering. Nike, Kato, we had tribal organizations, local that laid up Confederate tribes from Oregon. All 9 of them used to go there and used to put up workshops on how to train young people and youth at that age. So from that, I did a few, anywhere from 1 to 3 months just volunteering and also working part-time as a classroom assistant aide, special needs class, all that Portland Native American Title VII program, all over at by the beach too. Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde, those are just like Confederate Tribes of Selects. I spent 13 weeks at class in by Lincoln City, Oregon. This is back in 2013. And I went back in 2015, 1 month in January, and I spent some time, 4 weeks at the charter school at Selects Valley School. I came back to Cottonwood and stuff by Chin Lee. Again, also when I was out and about too, during those years too, back in 2010, I used to take these dance classes, both at University of Kansas and also at University of Oregon. And on top there, we did this is on the Friday night, a salsa dance workshop that we were coming back from. And at the bottom there, we did robotics classes at Virginia, by Washington D.C. again, at Norfolk, Virginia, by NASA, where they shoot those rockets. Involved with historically black colleges and universities. It's the same. It's just like with tribal colleges and university, but back in the south part of the United States and also on the east side of the United States, they have bigger, larger populations with African American groups. I spent 3 weeks and everybody sat together. These dining rooms. Everybody dressed up in their Baptist Christian clothes, church clothes. So everybody sang. Well, I don't sing too much. And the African American students, they sat very next to you. It's very normal out there. You make sure your shoes are shined. Because over here in Gallup area and Winter Rock, we don't sit too close to one another. We sit way apart. That's not with our own home site. We rather be distant away from. So they used to say, "Hey, Elliot, come sit next with us." I know. So it felt kind of a little bit awkward sitting right next to these students that it's normal for them. So that was that culture that we come across. When they come back home, they readjust. It took me time to readjust when I came back here up by Blue Gap area. Took me years to readjust back to the dust and back to the flea markets and the sheep corral. So